Throughout human history, there are stories we cannot explain, mysteries that have defied the passing of centuries. From the Seidel tomb of China's first emperor, said to contain rivers of liquid mercury, to the vanished grave of Genghis Khan, hidden from the world for 800 years. From forgotten civilizations carved into stone, to manuscripts that whisper secrets no one can understand. These are not just relics of the past, they are questions that challenge everything we think we know about history, about humanity, and about ourselves. Tonight, we begin a journey through the world's greatest unsolved mysteries. Some are buried deep beneath the earth. Some are carved into forgotten ruins, and some are written in blood and silence. But one question unites them all. Are these mysteries simply lost to time, or is there something more they are trying to tell us? Stay with me until the end, and then tell me in the comments, which mystery haunts you the most? In the heart of China, beneath a hill that looks almost ordinary, lies one of the greatest mysteries in human history. It is the tomb of Qin Huang, the first emperor of China. The man who unified warring states, built the beginnings of the Great Wall, and forged an empire that will last for millennia. Yet in death, as in life, he demanded to rule with absolute power. And so his resting place was built not as a grave, but as an eternal kingdom. More than 2,000 years ago, according to ancient texts, construction of his mausoleum began the moment Qin Shi Huang claimed the throne. For nearly 40 decades, hundreds of thousands of laborers, artisans, and slaves toiled day and night to carve chambers into the earth. They carried precious metals, rare jewels, weapons, and statues. They worked until their hands bled, and when they died, others replaced them. This was not a tomb, it was a city buried underground. What we know comes from fragments of history, especially the writings of historian Sima Qian. He described the emperor's tomb as a world beneath the soil, with palaces and towers, treasures and weapons, and even rivers of flowing mercury to represent the seas and streams of China. The heavens themselves were recreated on the ceiling, dotted with pearls to form the stars. It was a cosmos in miniature where Qin Shi Huang would rule forever. And yet, no one has ever seen it. The central burial chamber remains sealed, untouched, hidden beneath layers of earth. What we have discovered is only the outer guard, the famous terracotta army. In 1974, farmers digging a well stumbled upon life-size clay soldiers, thousands of them, arranged in formation, each with a unique face. Warriors, horses, archers, generals, all standing in silent ranks to guard their emperor in death. To this day, archaeologists continue to uncover new figures, musicians, acrobats, even stone birds. The detail is breathtaking. The message is unmistakable. Qin Shi Huang's authority extended beyond life itself. But the true heart of the mystery lies deeper. Why has no one entered the central tomb? Why, after decades of excavation, does the most important chamber remain sealed? The answer is as chilling as it is mysterious. Tests of the surrounding soil reveal abnormally high levels of mercury, exactly as Sima Qian wrote. Did the builders truly flood the tomb with rivers of liquid mercury? Was it meant as a trap, a poison to kill grave robbers? Or could it have been part of an otherworldly ritual intended to give the emperor command over death itself? There are other dangers too. The structure of the tomb is fragile, built over 2,000 years ago. To break into it hastily could cause everything inside to collapse, destroying the very treasures it holds. And then there's the moral question. Should we disturb the emperor's rest? The terracotta army was already a breathtaking find, but perhaps the central tomb is something even more extraordinary, an untouched time capsule of China's first empire. To open it may be to solve one of history's greatest mysteries, but also to destroy it. Legends swirl around the mausoleum. Some say the workers who built it were sealed inside to keep its secrets, buried alive alongside the emperor they served. Others whisper that Qin Huang sought immortality, consuming elixirs mercury that eventually killed him. If this tomb truly contains oceans of the deadly metal, it may not only be a grave but also a monument to his fatal obsession with eternal life. Even now, technology teases us with glimpses of what lies below. Ground-penetrating radar reveals vast halls and chambers stretching beneath the hill. Patterns suggest walls, corridors, and sealed doorways. But still, no spade has broken through. The Chinese government has forbidden excavation until technology advances far enough to guarantee preservation. For now, the emperor sleeps undisturbed, so we are left with questions. Is the tomb truly filled with rivers of mercury? Are there unimaginable treasures, scrolls of lost knowledge, weapons of bronze and gold lying untouched in the darkness? Or are there traps and poisons waiting, ready to punish any who dare to enter? More than 2,000 years have passed, and Qin Shi Huang's voice still echoes in silence. He built a kingdom underground to rule forever, and in a way, he succeeded. For though dynasties rose and fell, those centuries turned to dust, his tomb remained sealed, his empire intact beneath the earth, his mystery unbroken. The terracotta soldiers stand watch, faces frozen, eyes fixed on eternity. They wait, as we all wait, for the day when the tomb is opened, or perhaps for the day when it is left forever untouched. Until then, the first emperor of China rules still. Not in life, not in death, but in mystery. In the sweeping steppes of Mongolia, where the wind howls across endless grasslands and mountains pierce the sky, lies a mystery that has haunted historians for centuries, the final resting place of Genghis Khan. He was one of the most powerful men who ever lived. Born as Temujin, he rose from obscurity to unite the Mongol tribes and forge the largest contiguous empire in human history. His army swept across Asia and into Europe, leaving kingdoms shattered in their wake. To some, he was a brutal conqueror. To others, a brilliant leader and lawgiver. But when he died in 1227, the great Khan left behind not only an empire, but also a secret that endures to this day. Where is his grave? According to legend, Genghis Khan's body was carried back to Mongolia after his death in battle. The funeral procession is said to have killed anyone who saw them on the way, to ensure absolute secrecy. When they reached his burial site, some say in the Khenti Mountains, others whisper in the Ordos region, the soldiers built a hidden tomb. Horses were marched back and forth to flatten the earth, erasing every trace of digging. Finally, those who had buried him were themselves executed, so no living soul would know where he lay. The result? Silence. A silence so complete that nearly 800 years later, no one can say for certain where Genghis Khan rests. Chinese chronicles mention that a great mausoleum was built, but not as a grave, rather as a shrine. The actual body was never placed there. Instead, it was hidden. Some accounts suggest that rivers were diverted to flood the site, burying him beneath water. Others claim he rests in a secret valley, guarded by eternal curses. In Mongolian tradition, to seek his tomb is to invite misfortune, for disturbing the Khan would bring disaster upon the land. In modern times, archaeologists have searched tirelessly. Expeditions have scoured the Khenti Mountains, scanning with satellite imagery, drones, and ground-penetrating radar. Clues appear, anomalies in the earth, unexplained mounds, sites marked by ancient rituals. But Mongolia is vast, and the land keeps its secrets well. Every discovery raises more questions and answers. The mystery deepens when we consider why his grave was hidden. Was it simply to protect his body from enemies and grave robbers? Or was there something more, something buried with him that could change history? His empire stretched from China to Persia, from Russia to the Middle East. The treasures and knowledge he plundered could have been immense. Did they lie buried with him? Or was his greatest treasure his legend itself? For the Mongolian people, Genghis Khan is more than a conqueror. He is a national symbol, a father of the nation. To disturb his rest might feel like sacrilege. This is why, despite technology, the tomb remains untouched. The government has even restricted searches in sacred regions, respecting ancient traditions. And so the mystery endures. Somewhere in the wide expanse of Mongolia, beneath forests, rivers, or mountains, lies the grave of Genghis Khan. Sealed not by stone or walls, but by silence, secrecy, and fear. Perhaps one day science will find it. Perhaps one day the earth will give up its secret. But until then, the great Khan rides on, not in body, but in legend. In the quiet fields of southern France, in a place called Castelnau, no that east, a discovery was made in 1890 that still sparks debate more than a century later. It was here, beneath the soil of an ancient burial ground, that French anthropologist Georges Vacher de la Poche unearthed something that defied belief. Bones of a size so massive, they seemed to belong not to men, but to giants. As La Poche sifted through earth, he recovered fragments of human femurs, tibias, and skulls. But these were no ordinary remains. The femur alone measured nearly 40 centimeters, far larger than that of an average man. From his calculations, the individual to whom the bones belonged must have stood close to 3.5 meters tall, more than 11 feet. Beside it lay 2 other skeletons of similar scale. La Poche himself declared them the remains of a race of giants. The discovery was reported in newspapers of the time, sparking fascination and fear. Could it be true that an ancient race of giants once walked Europe? Skeptics were quick to argue. Some claimed the bones were simply abnormal growths, the result of giantism or deformity. Others dismissed the findings as exaggeration, saying measurement errors had been made. Yet the bones themselves, carefully described and documented, remained undeniable. What became of them? That is the greater mystery. The Castelnau skeletons were sent to the University of Montpellier for study, and then they vanished. No photographs, no further research, no bones preserved for modern analysis. All that remains are the original reports, the words of La Poche, and the tantalizing suggestion of a forgotten truth. For believers, this is proof that legends of giants told in mythologies across the world were not merely stories. The Bible speaks of the Nephilim, immense beings who walked the earth. Greek mythology describes the gigantes, titans who challenged the gods. Norse tales speak of frost giants lurking in ancient worlds. Could all these myths have a kernel of truth? Could the Castelnau bones have been evidence of such beings? Skeptics countered that without the remains, there is no proof. The bones could have been misidentified animal fossils or the victims of disease that enlarged their skeletons. They argued that in the 19th century, scientific standards were not as rigorous, and sensational stories sold newspapers. But even so, how could such massive bones be so easily dismissed? Some suggest a darker explanation, that the bones were deliberately hidden, locked away, or destroyed. Perhaps they threaten established views of human history. If giants had truly existed, the story of human evolution would need rewriting. Institutions wary of chaos may have chosen silence over revelation. And so the mystery remains buried, both literally and figuratively. Did Georges Vacher de la Poche truly uncover giants in the fields of France? Or was it a misunderstanding lost to time? Today, Castelnau is a quiet town. The fields where the discovery was made give no hint of what lay beneath. Yet for those who believe, the ground itself whispers the secret that long ago, beings of immense stature walked here. Perhaps one day another spade will strike Earth and the truth will rise again. Until then, the Castelnau giants remain a legend, half buried, half remembered, always waiting. In Zhejiang province, eastern China, lies one of the most baffling archaeological mysteries of all time. In 1992, a group of villagers near the small town of Xi'an decided to drain a pond that had existed for as long as anyone could remember. What they found beneath the water changed history. As the water emptied, stone steps emerged. Then, vast walls, carved with perfect symmetry. What lay hidden was not a natural cavern, but an immense, man-made structure. And not just one. Eventually, more than 30 such caves were discovered. Each was carefully hewn into solid sandstone, stretching with soaring ceilings, intricate carvings, and pillars that seemed to hold up the earth itself. These were the Longyou caves, and no one knows who built them or why. The caves are astonishing in scale. Some reach heights of nearly 30 meters, with smooth, straight walls etched with precise parallel lines, as though carved by a machine. The volume of rock removed is staggering, millions of cubic feet. To hollow them out with hand tools, as ancient builders would have had, would have required generations of labor. Yet not a single tool, not a single record, has ever been found. And therein lies the mystery. Chinese dynasties kept detailed historical records. They documented wars, famines, births, deaths, even the most trivial events. Yet in all the chronicles, there is no mention of the Longyou caves. No king, no dynasty, no emperor claimed them. It is as if they appeared out of nowhere, carved in silence, and then forgotten. Even more puzzling, the caves have survived for more than 2,000 years without collapse. The sandstone is fragile, yet the chambers remain standing, stable and strong. Engineers marvel at their design. How did ancient builders know the precise angles to prevent cave-ins? How did they illuminate the interiors, carving deep underground without fire marks on the ceilings? Some suggest mirrors were used to reflect sunlight into the depths. Others whisper of forgotten technologies, knowledge lost to time. The carvings themselves add another layer of mystery. Every wall is marked with parallel chisel strokes, uniform and deliberate, as though left as a signature. They do not depict images, nor symbols, only endless lines. An entire hidden world etched in silence. Were they simply decorative, or did they serve a ritual purpose? Some theories claim the caves were ancient granaries, storehouses built to preserve food. Others say they were secret meeting halls, temples of lost cults. More speculative voices imagine them as dwellings of a forgotten civilization, or even evidence of contact with beings beyond our world. Whatever their purpose, the Longyou caves defy explanation. Even today, archaeologists admit they cannot be fully understood. Why were they built? Who built them? And why, after such monumental effort, were they abandoned and erased from memory? The villagers who uncovered them still tell a story with awe. For centuries, they swam in ponds above these hidden giants, never suspecting the world beneath their feet. Now the caves stand open, silent and empty, monuments to a mystery older than history itself. Perhaps one day, new evidence will reveal their secret, or perhaps the Longyou caves will remain what they are now, vast chambers of silence, where the walls themselves whisper questions, but never answers. In the mountains of Lebanon, in the ancient city of Baalbek, lie stones so massive that they defy imagination. Known as the Stone of the South, the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, and others like it, these megaliths weigh hundreds, even thousands of tons. Carved with precision, they lie half buried in ancient quarries as if abandoned mid-construction. Their sheer size has left historians, engineers, and archaeologists asking the same haunting question for centuries. Who built them, and how were they moved? The stones are staggering in scale. One block alone is estimated to weigh more than 1,000 tons, roughly the weight of 200 elephants. Yet it was cut so precisely from the bedrock that its edges are straight, its surface is flat, as though crafted up with tools beyond the reach of ancient hands. The nearby Roman temple complex of Jupiter, built atop Baalbek centuries later, used massive stone foundations, some nearly as large. But even Rome, with this engineering genius, never attempted to move the largest blocks. They remain in the quarry, waiting. How could ancient builders, thousands of years before cranes or modern machinery, possibly have cut, transported, and lifted such stones? Some argued they were dragged with ropes and manpower, but calculations reveal the numbers are staggering. Tens of thousands of men would have been needed at moving in perfect coordination across uneven ground. Others suggest wooden rollers, but the terrain makes such methods nearly impossible. To this day, no one has replicated the feat. And yet, the stones exist. They are not myth, not legend, but cold reality. Standing before them, one cannot help but feel dwarfed, humbled, and puzzled. Theories abound. Some historians believe the megaliths predate the Romans, remnants of a civilization lost to history. Perhaps the Phoenicians or even older cultures laid the foundations long before. Others whisper of more fantastic origins, that Baalbek was a site of gods, or beings beyond humanity left their mark. Ancient astronaut theorists point to the precision of the cuts, the colossal weight, and the inexplicable abandonment as proof of otherworldly involvement. Skeptics remind us that humans have moved mountains before. The pyramids of Egypt, the Moai of Easter Island, each seemed impossible until they were achieved. Perhaps Baalbek is another such feat, a triumph of brute force, patience, and ingenuity. But if so, why abandon the largest stones where they lay? Why begin carving a block of over 1,000 tons only to leave it behind? The silence of the quarry offers no answer. The stones rest, half buried in the earth, as they have for thousands of years. Farmers pass by, tourists marvel, archaeologists measure, but the truth remains locked in stone. In a quiet library in Prague rests a book unlike any other, bound in leather, written on hundreds of sheets of vellum, its pages heavy with ink and mystery. It is called the Codex Gigas, Latin for the giant book, but history knows it by another, darker name, the Devil's Bible. At nearly 1 meter tall and weighing over 70 kilograms, the Codex Gigas is the largest surviving medieval manuscript in the world. Created in the early 13th century, it is said to have required the skins of more than 160 animals just to produce the parchment. Every word, every illustration was written by a single hand, in perfect, unwavering script, as if the scribe had worked without rest, without error, without hesitation. Its contents are equally vast. The entire Latin Bible, historical chronicles, medical knowledge, magical formulas, calendars, exorcism rituals, an entire universe of medieval knowledge captured in one book. But what truly sets the Codex Gigas apart is not its size, nor its scope, but its legend. For within its pages, on a single sheet, stares an image unlike anything else in secret texts, a full-page portrait of the devil himself. He crouches in the center of the page, horns curling from his head, claws outstretched, eyes wide and unblinking. Unlike the devils of later Christian art, he is not a fallen angel, but a monstrous beast, half human, half demon. His presence is so jarring, so unnatural, that for centuries the book has been surrounded by whispers. Could it truly have been written with the help of the devil? The legend tells of a monk condemned to death for breaking his vows. In a desperate plea for mercy, he promised to write a book containing all human knowledge in a single night. The task was impossible, but he struck a bargain. He sold his soul to the devil in exchange for the power to finish his work. By dawn, the manuscript was complete, and in gratitude, or perhaps in warning, the monk painted the devil's image onto its pages. Historians, of course, offer more mundane explanations. Careful analysis of the handwriting confirms it was written by one person, with an almost mechanical precision. But how did a single scribe maintain such flawless consistency without any deviation across more than 300 pages? No known manuscript matches its unity of style. And then there are the missing pages. Originally, the Codex Gigas contained additional texts, possibly more magical writings, or even the monastic rules of the Benedictines. These pages were cut out centuries ago, their contents lost. Why? Were they simply removed to reduce weight? Or did they contain knowledge deemed too dangerous, too blasphemous to preserve? The book's history only deepens its aura of darkness. After its creation, the Codex Gigas passed from monastery to monastery, finally landing in the royal collections of Bohemia. During the 30 Years' War in the 17th century, it was taken as war booty by the Swedish army and brought to Stockholm, where it remained for centuries. Along the way, it gained its sinister reputation. Soldiers claimed misfortune befell those who tried to steal or mishandle it. Monks whispered that the devil's portrait was alive, watching, waiting. Modern science tells us the Codex Gigas is no supernatural miracle. Carbon dating and ink analysis confirm its medieval origins. The massive undertaking was likely the work of a highly disciplined scribe, perhaps serving a lifetime penance. The devil's portrait may have been intended as a reminder of sin, a warning against temptation. And yet, the mystery endures. Why would a monk, devoting decades of his life to scripture, place a grotesque devil at its center? Why does the handwriting never waver, never change, as if written in one unbroken effort? And why does the book carry with it such a persistent aura of dread? Today, the Codex Gigas rests in the National Library of Sweden. Preserved behind glass, visitors come from around the world to gaze upon its pages, to see for themselves the infamous portrait. Many leave unsettled, feeling eyes upon them long after they walk away. Scholars pore over its texts, searching for hidden meanings, codes, connections. Some believe its very survival, untouched by fire, theft, or decay for nearly 7-8 centuries, is itself uncanny. Perhaps the legend is only a story, a way to explain the unexplainable. Or perhaps in some way we can't measure, the scribe truly was not alone as he wrote. Perhaps in the long hours of silence, when the candle burned low and the ink dried on the page, another hand guided his own. What is certain is this: the Codex Gigas is not just a book, it is a riddle, a mirror, and a warning. A reminder that knowledge and darkness often walk hand in hand. That in the pursuit of wisdom, we may find ourselves staring into the eyes of something far older, far darker than we ever imagined. And so the Devil's Bible endures, half manuscript, half mystery, a monument to the ambition of man, and perhaps to the whispers of the devil. On a barren hilltop in southeastern Turkey, archaeologists uncovered something that rewrote the story of human civilization. Buried beneath layers of soil and stone lay Göbeklitepe, a site older than the pyramid, older than Stonehenge, older even than the written word itself. For thousands of years, the hill was thought to be nothing more than farmland, but in the 1990s, excavations revealed towering stone pillars arranged in circles, some weighing up to 20 tons. Carved with images of animals, foxes, snakes, boars, vultures. These stones stood not as mere markers, but as monuments. They date back nearly 12,000 years to a time when humanity was still supposed to be hunters and gatherers, wandering nomads with no permanent homes. Yet here was proof of something else: a temple, a place of ritual, a sacred site built with planning, organization, and shared belief. Long before the rise of cities, long before the invention of agriculture, people came together to raise these stones toward the sky. The mystery is overwhelming. How did Stone Age people, with no metal tools, no wheels, no beasts of burden, move and carve such massive stones? How did they plan and align the circles with such precision? And why? Why would hunter-gatherers who lived hand-to-mouth invest such effort in building a temple? Some archaeologists believe Göbeklitepe was the birthplace of religion itself, a site where scattered tribes gathered to worship, feast, and share myths. The carvings on the stones, predators, carrion birds, dangerous creatures, suggest rituals connected with death, rebirth, and the cycles of nature. Others argue it may have been an astronomical observatory, aligning with stars and solstices. But the greatest mystery is this: the site was deliberately buried. Thousands of years after it was built, its builders covered it with earth, entombing their own creation. Was it an act of reverence, a way of preserving the sacred for future generations? Or was it fear? Fear of what the temple represented, fear of powers they could no longer control. For modern science, Göbeklitepe changes everything. Civilization was supposed to begin with farming, with villages, then cities, then temples. But Göbeklitepe suggests the opposite, that faith, ritual, and myth came first, and agriculture followed to support it. In other words, religion may not have been born from civilization, civilization may have been born from religion. Even today, only a fraction of the site has been uncovered. Beneath the hills lie more circles, more stones, more secrets. Each excavation reveals new carvings, new mysteries. And with each discovery, our picture of the ancient world grows more complex. Standing among the pillars of Göbeklitepe, you feel the weight of time pressing in. You are surrounded not just by stone, but by questions. Who were the builders? What did they believe? And why, after such monumental effort, did they choose to bury their sacred place? Perhaps we will never know. Perhaps the answers lie forever beneath the earth. Or perhaps in the silence of Göbeklitepe, in the gaze of its carved animals. The answers are already there, if only we learn to listen. High in the mountains of central China, whispers tell of a pyramid larger than any in Egypt, its sides gleaming white, its summit brushing the sky. Known only as the White Pyramid, this colossal structure is said to lie hidden in the remote valleys of Shanxi province, a land long shrouded in secrecy. The story first reached the West in the early 20th century. Rumors filtered through travelers and missionaries, strange pyramid-shaped hills rising in the Chinese countryside. But it was during World War II that the legend took hold. In 1945, U.S. Army pilot James Gaussman reportedly flew over the region while supplying Chinese forces. He claimed to have seen a massive white pyramid rising from the earth, dwarfing the surrounding landscape. He described it as being over 300 meters tall, more than twice the height of the Great Pyramid of Giza. A few years later, another pilot, Colonel Mary Sheehan, reported a similar sighting. His accounts made headlines in American newspapers. The world was stunned. Could it be true that the greatest pyramid on Earth was not in Egypt, but in China? The Chinese government has remained cautious. Aerial photographs exist of pyramid-like structures in the Shanxi region, but officials insist they are burial mounds of emperors, smaller and less spectacular than the legends suggest. Some have been identified as tombs of the Han Dynasty, covered in earth and vegetation. Yet the stories persist of one pyramid far greater than all the rest, shining with white stone hidden from view. Satellite imagery has revealed dozens, perhaps hundreds of pyramid-shaped mounds near Xi'an, the ancient capital, but none matched the scale described by Gaussman. Was his account exaggerated? A trick of light? Or did he truly see something extraordinary? Some researchers suggest that what he saw was an artificial hill, its surface once covered in white stone that has since eroded or been hidden by soil. Others whisper of deliberate suppression, that the site remains off limits because it holds secrets too disruptive for history as we know it. For archaeologists, the mystery is frustrating. Excavations are limited, and many of the mounds remain untouched, preserved under government protection. Could the White Pyramid be the lost tomb of an ancient emperor, greater even than Qinshi Huang's mausoleum? If so, what treasures, what knowledge might lie within? Or is it something older still, a monument of a forgotten civilization, erased from memory? The legends grow with retelling. Some speak of extraterrestrial origins, pointing to the pyramid's supposed alignment with stars. Others claim it is part of a network of ancient power sites, stretching across the globe. For believers, the White Pyramid is proof of an advanced culture that predates recorded history. For skeptics, it is nothing more than myth built on misunderstanding. Yet the mystery endures. The mountains of Shanxi are vast, the valleys deep, the land cloaked in mist. Somewhere within, perhaps, lies a monument the world is not ready to see. Or perhaps it has already been seen, only to be hidden again. Until the day comes when the earth yields its secret, the White Pyramid will remain both legend and possibility. A monument of silence, standing unseen, guarding mysteries as tall as the mountain.
In July of 2018, in the bustling city of Alexandria, Egypt, construction workers digging for the foundations of a new building stumbled upon something extraordinary. Beneath the soil, sealed away for 2,000 years, lay a massive black sarcophagus, the largest ever discovered in the city's history. Carved from solid granite, it measured over 2.5 meters long, weighed nearly 30 tons, and exuded an aura of dread and mystery. From the very first moment, the sarcophagus inspired fear. Locals whispered that it must belong to a cursed king, or perhaps to Alexander the Great himself. Archaeologists debated whether it might contain a high priest, a nobleman, or even something darker, sealed away to protect the world from its presence. And as news spread, the world held its breath. For what lay within the black sarcophagus? The tomb was ominous in every way. Unlike most sarcophagi, which are decorated with inscriptions, carvings, or blessings, this one was plain, blank, and forbidding. No name, no title, no clue as to who was inside. To many, this absence of identification was even more unsettling. Who could command such a massive monument, yet leave no trace of identity? Unless, of course, the silence was intentional. For weeks, speculation ran wild. Some warned that opening the sarcophagus would unleash a curse, a plague upon Egypt, even upon the world. Others dreamed that inside lay Alexander the Great, whose body has been missing for centuries, lost since antiquity. Could this be his final resting place? If so, it would be the greatest archaeological discovery of the century. At last, under the eyes of the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities, the sarcophagus was opened. Crowds gathered, cameras rolled. The lid was pried free with immense effort, revealing not golden treasures or royal regalia, but something far stranger. A pool of foul red-brown liquid, thick and reeking of death. Floating within were 3 skeletons, waterlogged and broken, their identities unknown. The stench was overwhelming. Workers gagged, onlookers recoiled. The liquid, it was later determined, was a mix of sewage water and decomposed remains seeped in through cracks in the stone. But to the public, the horror was unforgettable. Online people joked about drinking the cursed mummy juice to gain powers, while others recoiled in disgust. The black sarcophagus had become legend overnight. But who were the skeletons? Early theories suggested they were soldiers, perhaps a family or victims buried together. Their bones bore signs of violence, one with a pierced skull, another with broken bones. DNA analysis revealed that there were 3 men, unrelated, buried sometime around the 2nd century BCE. Not kings, not priests, but ordinary people, or perhaps criminals, executed and hidden away. If so, why such a massive sarcophagus? Why such secrecy? Historians struggle with the contradictions. On one hand, the sarcophagus' size and weight suggest immense importance. Only someone with power could command such a monument. Yet the lack of inscriptions, the crude burial, the absence of treasures all suggest otherwise. Could it be a case of reuse, a sarcophagus intended for royalty, but later repurposed for others?
Or was it built deliberately plain to conceal rather than glorify? The mystery deepens when we consider Alexandria itself. Founded by Alexander the Great in 331 BCE, it became one of the greatest cities of the ancient world, a crossroads of cultures, knowledge, and power. Yet much of its ancient grandeur lies buried beneath centuries of change. Fires, earthquakes, and floods destroyed many of its treasures, including the famed Library of Alexandria. Could the Black Sarcophagus be another relic of that forgotten age, a fragment of history half remembered? Legends cling stubbornly to the site. Some still believe Alexander may have been connected to the sarcophagus, his true tomb hidden nearby. Ancient texts tell us that his body was displayed in Alexandria for centuries, a shrine visited by emperors and generals. But at some point, it vanished. Was it stolen, destroyed, or buried in secret? The Black Sarcophagus offered hope, however fleeting, that the mystery might be solved. Instead, it gave us only more questions. Even today, the three skeletons remain unidentified. Studies continue, bones analyzed, chemical traces examined, but answers are elusive. Were they soldiers of a forgotten battle, victims of assassination, outcasts denied proper burial? The granite tomb offers no clue. Its silence is complete. So what then is the true meaning of the Black Sarcophagus? Perhaps it is a reminder that history is never neat, never clear. That sometimes the greatest discoveries leave us not with answers, but with deeper mysteries. And so the Black Sarcophagus sits in Alexandria, massive and silent, its lid lifted, but its secrets intact. Three nameless men rest inside, their story untold. Around them swirls centuries of rumor, fear, and fascination. Some call it cursed, others call it a disappointment. But in truth, it's something greater, a symbol of how fragile and incomplete our knowledge of the past actually is. We dig, we search, we open the earth, and still, history keeps its silence. The Black Sarcophagus was supposed to give us a name. Instead, it gave us a mirror, reflecting our endless hunger to know and the shadows that lie beyond our reach.
In 1929, in the dusty archives of the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, a rolled-up piece of parchment was rediscovered. When scholars carefully unrolled it, they realized they were holding something extraordinary. A world map, drawn in 1513 by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis. At first glance, it was remarkable enough. The map showed the coasts of Europe, Africa, and the Americas, lands that had only just been reached by European explorers. But what truly shocked historians was not what was familiar, but what was impossible. The Piri Reis Map depicted parts of the world that should not have been known in 1513. Its rendering of South America was startlingly accurate, with details that European maps of the era lacked. Even more baffling was its portrayal of Antarctica, centuries before the continent was officially discovered. And on the map, Antarctica appeared not covered in ice, but as a bare, ice-free coastline. How could this be? Piri Reis himself left clues. In the margins of the map, he wrote that he had compiled it from about 20 charts in Mappemundi, some drawn by recent explorers like Columbus, but others, some dating back to the time of Alexander the Great. Ancient sources, he claimed, had been passed down, copied, and preserved. Could it be that knowledge of the world, long before Columbus and Magellan, was far greater than we imagined? For decades, scholars have debated the map's implications. Some argue that the Antarctic coastline was mistaken for South America's southern tip. Others insist the level of detail is too accurate to be a coincidence. Geological surveys reveal that the continent's ice-free coastlines would have been visible more than 6,000 years ago. If true, it suggests that whoever first charted it lived in a time before the Ice Age had fully settled, long before recorded history. Does the Piri Reis Map preserve echoes of a lost civilization, one capable of global navigation thousands of years ago? Or is it a miracle of chance, a cartographic error that looks uncanny only in hindsight? What we do know is that Piri Reis was a brilliant man of his time, a sailor, an explorer, and a scholar. He compiled knowledge from many cultures, His map was a mosaic of information, pieced together from fragments. Perhaps some of those fragments were far older than he realized. The map itself is incomplete. Only a portion of the world remains. South America's coasts, Africa's west, Europe's outline. But even this fragment carries enough mystery to fuel debate for generations. Its accuracy and latitude, its strange portrayal of unknown lands, its hints of something ancient lurking in the margins of history, all defy easy explanation. Today, the Piri Reis Map remains in Topkapi, a treasure of the Ottoman archives. Scholars pore over its faded ink, its annotations, its strange symbols. Some see it as evidence of a hidden chapter in human history. Others dismiss it as a curiosity, a puzzle of coincidence that looks uncanny only in hindsight. Yet the power of the map lies not only in what it shows, but in what it suggests. Perhaps that beneath the official story of exploration and discovery, there runs another story. A story of forgotten knowledge, lost civilizations, and maps that whisper truth too old to remember. The Piri Reis Map is more than parchment and ink. It is a riddle across centuries. A reminder that the world is far older and far stranger than we dare to believe.